Hello and welcome to Viewpoint. My name is Beaumont and thank you for joining me here today. For some reason that I'm not too sure about, we're back with the MPs Expenses scandal. Though quite why we are is a little beyond me. For some reason it relates to this story. I'm going to read it to you as it is written on the BBC website. Have a listen to this. MPs must wrest control of the Commons from the government to restore people's faith in politics, says a committee set up in the wake of the expenses scandal. The cross-party House of Commons Reform Committee warns Parliament is in crisis following the scandal and should be reformed within 2 months. It recommends backbench MPs should have more power to call debates and calls for greater scrutiny of ministers. The government said it would make time for a Commons debate on the ideas. Shadow Leader of the Commons, Sir George Young, said the Conservatives welcomed the report and its recommendations were broadly in line with what the party had already pledged. The 18-member Reform Committee was set up as the expenses scandal broke earlier this year. Yeah, I remember that scandal. I remember what it was about. And I also remember thinking, well, this really has zip all to do with the government. So, how do you get from a scandal where MPs have been claiming, MPs of all parties had been claiming illegitimately off the system for a long time, to a report which recommends that MPs should be able to give ministers greater scrutiny and have more control of Parliament? Do you get the connection? Because I don't. As far as I can tell, there is no real connection here. This is a mere distraction ploy to distract people from what the real problem is. What is the real problem? It is the fact that MPs are not held as much to account by the public as perhaps they should be. It's not MPs holding the government to account. It's us, the public, not really holding the MPs to account. We have seen so much come out of this expenses scandal that you just wouldn't believe. And then there were things like the episode with Anthony Steen, the MP for Totnes, talking on Radio 4 and saying that the public should have no complaints about how the MPs spend taxpayers' money on expenses. It just said to me that politicians don't get it yet. They don't get what's really at stake here. And this report just seems to further reinforce that opinion. What's at stake here is public trust, not in the processes of getting a bill through Parliament. No, it's got nothing to do with that. But it has got everything to do with us as electors. I go out and cast my vote every 4 or 5 years, whenever. It has to do with us trusting the MPs to represent us as individuals, not their party. Party politics has gotten to be too powerful, and in very rare cases now you'll find an MP that actually does represent a constituency and represent it well. We've had a very good MP in Truro for the past 22 years in Matthew Taylor, who got the seat in the wake of the road traffic accident that killed our former MP, David Penhaligon. Even the Daily Telegraph couldn't dig up dirt on Matthew Taylor, because all his claims had been totally legitimate, totally within the rules, and totally within morals as well. In other words, he hadn't switched houses or anything like that. No, he'd done just about the bare minimum of what he needed to do in order to do his job. And when you're travelling from Cornwall to London practically every week, that can get a bit costly. So he was pretty much in the clear. But many other MPs did not get off so lightly. Over 500 MPs were found to have defrauded the system, abused it in such a way that as the result was, we as people lost trust in the politicians. It's got nothing to do with getting bills through Parliament. It's to do with loss of trust. I don't know how many more times can I say it. We do not trust you, MPs, any longer. And this so-called reform package that you guys have put together does nothing to increase our trust in you. If you are serious about getting us to trust you again, you're going to have to do a lot more. Probably more than you want to do. But I think it's got to be done. What's got to be done? Well, for starters, a wholesale overhaul of the MPs we actually have in there now. We'll be doing that by June next year, and I'll talk more about that in an election commentary later on. For now, that's Viewpoint. I'm Beaumont. Thank you for watching. Stay sharp. Stay tuned.